Hi, everybody, and welcome to another Joseph Morris live stream. If you're new here, hi, how are you? I am Joseph Morris. I'm a true crime case discussion channel. I've been ragging a lot on Prince Andrew as of late, but I thought it was a good idea to switch gears a little bit and put my attention on Bill Clinton. And we just got some new information this morning about Bill Clinton being guilty AF, similar to how Prince Andrew was. And a lot of people would actually say that this Prince Andrew is actually a huge distraction from the real enemy at hand, who is Bill Clinton, whose wife is actually running for the president of the United States of America in 2024. So thank you so much for being here. If you want to stay up to date on this crazy Ghislaine Maxwell trial, the Bill Clinton soon-to-be trial, and the Prince Andrew trial, please make sure you subscribe, ring the bell so you never miss a live. And you know, YouTube really likes burying my videos because I am not afraid to talk about people that most news media outlets are afraid to talk about. So if like CNN were to talk about Bill Clinton being a terrible human being, they would most likely be faced with a defamation lawsuit or, you know, be exiled from the government and having any sort of relationship there. But, you know, YouTubers, on the other hand, aren't really afraid to talk about these things, but we still get buried by YouTube and the algorithm. So please make sure you press like on my video, because I find when I do say press like on my video, it really helps out my video a lot. So thank you so much, guys. This is my dog right here, Gabby, and we just hang out in my attic and discuss true crime and all the happenings that happen there. So I really enjoy hanging out with you guys. I also really enjoy actually a lot. I love speculation. I love speculation. I know that's crazy because people are like, I'm not a speculation channel. I don't like speculation, but you know, on my channel, it's cool. I love it. And if you guys want to like have some comments, the chat is right here. I try to read your comments throughout the entire live stream. And if you're watching this at a later date, you can also leave the comments down below. And I also sometimes publish this stuff to podcasts. So if you're watching this at a podcast, just know that I'm on YouTube right now, hanging out with my YouTube subscribers. So thank you so much for being here. Let's read some comments right now because you guys, I love your schedule. Don't forget, this started with Prince Charles and Jimmy Savile back in the day. Okay, so here's the thing. I do read your comments, and the thing about your comments is there's always somebody who pops up over and over and over again. And one of the things that always pops up on my comments is Bill Clinton and also this guy named Savile. So I need to look into Savile immediately because I understand like the Queen and the monarchy had some sort of relationship with this guy named Savile. So I'll look into that and I'll possibly do a video on that too, because I do really want to meet you guys where you're at. And I'm going to be 100% honest with everybody here. I am learning about this case this month. So this is all news to me. Like I really had no idea about like the monarchy or Prince Andrew politics, or even like the UK doesn't even like their monarchy. This is all news to me. So I enjoy reading the most basic things about the monarchy. I even enjoy reading about how Fergie still lives with the Duke of York. And I was just shocked to find that out. But anyway, I'm on a tangent right now. Let's get into the lead of the video. And this is really interesting news because we just found out yesterday that Ghislaine Maxwell unsealed all the names she was talking about in her trial. So Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty of, you know, heinous crimes. She's facing 65 years in prison right now, and she is not going down without a fight. She is actually asking for a mistrial right now because 3 jurors went out and said that they were victims of abuse when they're not supposed to be. They apparently lied on the questionnaire. So now she's asking for a mistrial, even though there is going to be possibly them cutting her a deal, saying that if you don't get the mistrial, you will be dropped on perjury charges. You guys are probably wondering what perjury charges are. It's probably like you just lie under oath when you're taking the stand, you lie. That's perjury. So she's on the hook for 2 of those charges. If she doesn't get a mistrial, she will be off the hook for those charges. So they're trying to cut a deal with her because they don't want to have a mistrial. Obviously, it costs the taxpayers a lot of money. It re-victimizes all the victims. So no one wants it. The only people that want it are the snaky lawyers who still get paid at the end of the day for all their mistrials. But that's in the air. And Ghislaine Maxwell is not going down without a fight because she unsealed some documents and she is naming names despite everybody saying that she isn't naming names. Well, she is. And it's up to the judge to basically send these names out to the public. But one name did come up yesterday, and there's a huge article written about it. And it's basically showing that Bill Clinton is someone that Ghislaine Maxwell actually was pretty much a client of Ghislaine Maxwell's. And this is all new information. I understand this is an old theme, but it basically did come out right now that Bill Clinton is being named. And this is crazy information. Thank you so much for being here. Please make sure you subscribe, ring the bell so you never miss a live. And this is huge news, especially coming up to Hillary Clinton's running in 2024. I mean, this is going to get messy and this is going to get really crazy. And so, I mean, let's just get right into it. I've talked enough. So I just want to start off with this article right here because I thought it was really interesting. And I just want to read, Savile case is very upsetting. Be warned if you're going to research it. It isn't crazy that this isn't televised. Exactly. Chris Tucker, Joe writes, so I'm reading your chats as I'm going throughout this. We are naming names right now. There's Chris Tucker. And on my last video, I played a video about Chris Tucker. He's a comedian, but he's flown on the Lolita Express. A bunch of names has come up. So please make sure you sound off with the names right here. And I really look forward to doing some more research. But this is an article I came across. Prince Andrew's relationship with the offender Jeffrey Epstein is a distraction from claims about Bill Clinton. So basically, this person is saying that Prince Andrew is basically distracting the American public from the fact that Bill Clinton is affiliated with Ghislaine Maxwell. And I thought that was really interesting. It writes, Epstein, who died in jail in 2019, was accused of trafficking a 17-year-old Virginia Roberts Giuffre and forcing her with the Duke of York, a claim that Andrew denies. And as you know, this is the same thing with Bill Clinton. He actually went on record denying any of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He wrote this in a statement, and this is all basically a lie. I mean, going back to Bill Clinton and how much he lied about, hooking up with his intern, Monica Lewinsky. He told all of the United States of America that he did not have relationships with this woman. Turns out he did. And he's just a big liar. He's a big fat liar is what he is. So President Clinton knows nothing about the terrible crimes Jeffrey Epstein pleaded guilty to in Florida some years ago, or those with which he has been recently charged in New York. In 2002 and 2003, President Clinton took a total of 4 trips on Jeffrey Epstein's airplane. That's a lie. 1 to Europe, 1 to Asia, and 2 to Africa, which included stops in connection with the work of the Clinton Foundation. Staff, supporters of the foundation, and his Secret Service detailed travel on every leg of every trip. He had 1 meeting with Epstein in his Harlem office in 2002, and around the same time made 1 brief visit to Epstein's New York apartment with a staff member and his security detail. He's not spoken to Epstein in well and over a decade, and has never been to Little St. James Island, Epstein's ranch in New Mexico, or his residence in Florida. I can literally count like 4 lies in this. One is that he's been on the plane, I think more than 4 times. I'll look into that, but I'm pretty sure. Also, Epstein has visited the White House numerous times. And this is bombshell information. This is a new detail that, let's just get right into it. Jeffrey Epstein brought 8 young women with him on his trips to see Bill Clinton at the White House, displayed photos of himself posing at the briefing podium at his Palm Beach mansion. This is all new information. I mean, he's trying to basically downplay that this is not his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, that he has no relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell, but Ghislaine Maxwell is naming names, and it's coming to light that Ghislaine Maxwell and Bill Clinton's relationship was a lot more than anybody thought it was. More on that in a bit, but basically it's alleged that Bill Clinton had an affair with Ghislaine Maxwell. And let's get into Jeffrey Epstein paid more than a dozen visits to the Clinton White House throughout the former president's first years in office, even bringing along with him multiple women, including 4 known to be his girlfriends. So I just want to point out real fast here that his girlfriends are actually known to participate in group group things, if you know what I mean. I can't say it on my channel, but like, people all getting together and doing adult things. His girlfriends are known to do that. One of the jurors, Johnny the juror, went on record saying that this one of his girlfriends on the right here, Eva Anderson Dubin, was known to actually sleep with young girls herself with Epstein in like a group scenario. And this woman on the right, Eva Anderson Dubin, Johnny the juror said so himself that this lady would participate in, these sort of group adult behaviors. And this is one of the ladies that went to go visit Bill Clinton. So if I'm just kind of, looking at past behaviors, as we all know, the past is a good indicator of the present. Bill Clinton is known to do a lot of really scandalous things in the White House, including hooking up with interns, as we all know. So the fact that, he could be potentially doing stuff with, these people is not too far of a stretch, in my opinion. Let's see who is here. Good to see you, Jeannie M. It's good to see you too. How many people do I have here? Wow, I have 1,000 people. Thank you so much for being here. I really wasn't expecting this. My goal every video is 1,000 views. So the fact that there's like 1,000 people giving me 1,000 views is crazy. Thank you so much for being here. We're discussing the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell is naming names. And one of the names that have come up recently is Bill Clinton. And there is basically logs showing that Epstein was visiting the White House and Epstein was flying Bill Clinton around. So there is speculation by people that Prince Andrew is just a distraction from the real predator at hand, which is Bill Clinton. So this is my video. If you're into that, please make sure you subscribe, ring the bell so you never miss a live, and do not forget to press like. I understand this is like old information, but I like to think I tell like old information in a new way and use new details. So the new details is that there are evidence articles documenting that Bill Clinton was brought in Epstein along with Epstein's girlfriends. And there's been a total of 8 women that went to go visit Bill Clinton with Epstein. And as we all know, Epstein used his girlfriends as slaves, essentially, to do adult behaviors in group scenarios. You can kind of just use your imagination. I can't say the word, but basically these women that he was with would participate in adult behaviors, and they were visiting Bill Clinton in the White House. This is all new information. Ghislaine Maxwell is going to be unsealing documents, and Bill Clinton's name has come up. So let's get into it some more. Unearthed visitor logs last month confirmed the late Epstein had visited the executive mansion at least 17 times during Bill Clinton's first term, beginning shortly after his inauguration in 1993. Additional records exclusively obtained now reveal that Epstein was not always alone during his trips to the White House, where he was joined by 8 different women between 1993 and 1995. So this is when Jeffrey Epstein was prolific. This is when Jeffrey Epstein had the deals done by Alex Acosta for all these criminal behaviors during this time. 95 is when he was operating as a PIMP, essentially, to serve up young girls to clients. And so this is at the height of Epstein's career. So you can just assume, given on Bill Clinton's past behaviors, which we'll get to more in a bit, that this is what was going down. He was basically bringing all these women to serve up to Bill Clinton. So let's get into it. Never before seen footage also shows the disgraced financier who on 3 occasions visited the president's house twice in one day, kept framed pictures of himself at the podium of the White House briefing room at his Palm Beach mansion. So I did some digging. This is new footage as well. And I'm just going to play it right here. And I just want to preface this with, obviously I'm going to be talking about really adult stuff here. So if this is triggering to you, please make sure you leave. But this is the Palm Beach mansion. And I've been meaning to play this on my live shows. I just haven't. But it is kind of like, you would think, oh, it's a mansion, right? Like it's supposed to be nice. It's supposed to be beautiful. Like I'm not rich like Epstein was. Epstein was a millionaire, but I like to think my house is like clean and nice looking. But then I look at this Palm Beach mansion. I'm just like, dirty couch at the top of the stairs, and everything is just looks really grimy and gross and unclean. And like, what is going on here? And the answer is, it wasn't a mansion. Well, it was technically, it was a trap house. This house is known to be a area where these crimes would occur. You know, we're just talking about underage girls, but we're also talking possibly about drugs and all the other things that come along with crime. So when I say mansion, Palm Beach mansion, I really mean this guy took a really nice house and turned it into like this seedy love hotel. It's like actually so tacky and gross. So let's just play the clip right here. Like, this couch is so gross to me. I'm sorry. Let me just pause it. Like, ew. What is going on? So tacky.
Police officers in Palm Beach County, Florida.
So there's framed pictures of Jeffrey Epstein in the White House, and it reminds me a lot of Prince Andrew bringing Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell to the Queen's Lodge. It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. So yeah, really creepy photos. Like, that is a woman with a chicken. I don't know. She's being served up. It's very creepy. It's like kind of Picasso. It's very like spooky, and it just isn't. And with the orange, it's ugh. These couches are gross. Yeah, very hyper adult pictures. Of course, that is infamous. Some very, yeah, I'm just going to skip ahead there. So this is new information right here. This is new video been released. And yeah, it's just like a spa type thing. It's like, obviously, you know what went down there. And the thing that's weird about this is that they actually seized a bunch of hard drives and computers, but no arrests really have been made. So it kind of makes you wonder if the FBI is in on it too. Very weird. But in that video, I'm just going to scroll down. I think I skipped over it just because it was very like not safe for work. But this is what I wanted to show. In this video, you can see that there is images of Jeffrey Epstein in the White House at the podium. And one can only wonder how he got into this really close quarters. And that was, you know, is not a place for criminals to be, or even people like you and I to be. And it's obviously because of Bill Clinton. So you kind of have to wonder what his relationship was with Jeffrey Epstein, that he would allow Jeffrey Epstein to be in this exclusive area. And, you know, these are just, of course, you can see the massage table, which was brought out in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. But, you know, obviously there's so much to get into with this. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to be looking at my chat. There's 1,800 people here. Absolutely crazy. So additional records exclusively obtained reveal that Epstein was not always alone during his trips to the White House, where he was joined by 8 different women between 1993 and 1995. Never before seen footage, as we just showed. The nature of Epstein's accompanied visits is not disclosed in the visitor logs. However, they show one of them coincided with a dinner in the Blue Room, attended by dozens of well-heeled guests. So these are his girlfriends. They are known to be slaves, pretty much, to Epstein, and they're known to be used to be offered up to his clients, along with copious amounts of underage girls. Many of the women Epstein took on his trips to Washington were known to have had romantic relationships with him. Yeah, so it just goes into all of the women that was served up to all of his clients, Bill Clinton as well. According to the visitor logs, Mildefart, now 48, entered the White House with Epstein twice on July 28th, 1994 at 2 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. So you kind of need to ask yourself, why was Mildefart, her name is Mildefart, which is kind of a weird name. So this woman on the left here, why was she going to the White House twice after his inauguration, 1994? Was she potentially being used and served up as a trophy, a reward for his inauguration? Probably. One can just assume. And obviously, flight records from Epstein's private plane one day earlier showed he and a woman named Selena had flown from Palm Beach to Teterboro, a private airport just outside New York. The following day, the day of the White House visit, Epstein and Selena flew from Teterboro to Reagan National Airport in Arlington, Virginia. The plane repositioned to nearby Washington Dulles Airport and picked up Epstein, Selena, and one female who was flown back to Teterboro. On the day of Epstein's visit, the White House had hosted a dinner in the Blue Room, attended by the president and First Lady Hillary Clinton, records show. According to the president's daily schedule, Clinton gave a lecture and a toast, after which they were entertainment, most likely from a live band. A lawyer representing Mildefart denied that she ever dated Epstein. However, 3 witnesses at the Maxwell trial contradicted those claims. So Jeffrey Epstein's visits to the Clinton White House, we have a ton of visits. I mean, this is just like a huge explainer graphic. He's been visited at the White House 17 times by a prolific PIMP, once, twice in one day, pretty much serving up a young woman for Bill Clinton's pleasure. And that is that. So this is Anderson Dubin. She's been known to participate in group scenarios, and she went to obviously the White House as well with Bill Clinton. And this is this is my first time seeing this photo ever. The extent of Clinton's relationship with Epstein and Maxwell came under intense scrutiny after the financier's 2019 arrest, as photos resurfaced showing Ghislaine attending Chelsea Clinton's wedding in 2010. So I was really shocked to see this image of Ghislaine Maxwell at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. And obviously it came to light that Ghislaine Maxwell was known to be somebody very close to Epstein. And so, again, just this new information about how 8 women went to the White House to visit Bill Clinton 17 times in the height of Jeffrey Epstein's criminal reign is very eye-opening. And I just want to also point out these photos, they're old news, but I think it's important to show them as well. Bill Clinton's neck massage by Jeffrey Epstein's victim in photo. This was huge news. So Bill Clinton leans back and smiles while receiving neck massage from Epstein's victim in never before seen photos during a trip on the plane to Africa in 2002. So this is after, everything kind of came to light about Epstein. Bill Clinton's still going on the plane. And this is one of the victims of Epstein. And she's seen giving Bill Clinton a massage. And as we all know, here we go. Clinton and Ghislaine were pictured posing together as they boarded Epstein's plane. Like, Bill Clinton knew what was up. Other pictures show the politician traveling on the infamous jet while playing cards with a cigar in his mouth. And obviously, this is Kevin Spacey, who is a convicted criminal as well. So it just kind of shows like what kind of company he kept around him. And really, I honestly feel like he knew what was going down. And for him to basically lie to everybody and say that he didn't is complete BS. And this to me is really incriminating. And you kind of have to wonder, like, why was this photo being taken? And I think a lot of it was being taken because of blackmail. I think this photo was taken to blackmail Bill Clinton. because that's how Jeffrey Epstein made a lot of his money, was blackmailing these people. Like, Jeffrey Epstein really didn't work a full-time regular job. So how did he manage to live in a New York City, one of the biggest private residences in New York City? Is because he's most likely blackmailing people like Bill Clinton with these photos, because this person that Bill Clinton is seen with is known to be a victim of Epstein. And I just want to touch a little bit on why more victims aren't coming forward to accuse Bill Clinton. And I dug up this really, really old article. Bill Clinton is accused of assault by 4 women. This article is from 2017. It honestly, the moment this article came out, after this, no one heard a darn thing about this. And it's very interesting. It goes, Bill Clinton is facing explosive new charges from 4 women, according to highly placed Democratic Party sources and an official who served in both the Clinton and Obama administrations, who told author Edward Klein. The current allegations against the former U.S. president, who has had previous charges of misconduct, stem back from where he lived in the White House in 2001, the sources told Edward Klein. Bill Clinton has been notified about the 4 separate lawsuits against him from the women's attorneys. As part of the ongoing negotiations, the attorneys for the women are asking for substantial payouts in return for their clients' silence. The negotiations have reached a critical stage. A member of Clinton's legal team has confirmed the existence of the new allegations. If the Clinton team failed the negotiations, the 4 women are said to expose their accusations of assault at a press conference, according to sources in Clinton's inner circle. The new allegations took place 10 years ago in the early 2000s, when Clinton was hired by Ron Burkle, the Playboy billionaire investor, to work at his companies. So I just want to talk a little bit about Ron Burkle. Ron Burkle is actually a good friend of Epstein. So in some ways, Epstein had people working for him and being a spokesperson. I believe that Ron Burkle was somebody that acted on the behalf of Epstein, and Bill Clinton is affiliated with Ron Burkle. So when Clinton was hired by Ron Burkle, Clinton helped Burkle generate business and flew around the world with a flock of beautiful young women on Burkle's private jet, which was named Air F1. The 4 women, who have remained anonymous, were in low-level positions at the Burkle's company. The women were in their late teens at the time and claimed they were assaulted by Bill Clinton. And I just really want to point out that this went nowhere. And as we learned about the Prince Andrew case, Prince Andrew did everything in his power. He's a rich and powerful man. How do these rich and powerful men manage to not have their reputations dragged through the mud? Well, they offer a massive settlement to these women so that they don't come forward with their claims that will destroy their livelihood. Bill Clinton most likely settled with these women out of court, and most likely these women, they're underage females. They're in their late teens. So I don't know if they were underage, actually. The women were in their late teens. I don't know if they were underage, but I could just assume maybe 17, 18. And you kind of wonder, why hasn't anybody come forward? Most likely these women have settled with Bill Clinton, similar to how Virginia Giuffre settled with Bill Clinton. And Virginia Giuffre, luckily got out of this settlement with Epstein. But, most likely Bill Clinton had a settlement with these 4 women. But Bill Clinton most likely was trafficking underage girls to the White House while he was serving, because these allegations took around the same time as the White House. So if I'm just connecting these two, given Bill Clinton's previous behavior, one can safely assume that this is what has gone on. And now Ghislaine Maxwell is naming names, and Bill Clinton's name is hitting the headlines. And I just wanted to kind of get ahead right now of the story. This is something I really wanted to play. Is Donald Trump. Here we go. I'm going to have to skip ahead a little bit.
Generating intense interest. In just 48 hours, it's become the single most talked about story of the entire 2016 election on Facebook, with millions and millions of people discussing it on the social network. As we said a moment ago, we do want to bring in questions from voters around the country via social media, and our first stays on this topic. Jeff from Ohio asks on Facebook, Trump says the campaign has changed him. When did that happen? So, Mr. Trump, let me add to that. When you walked off that bus at age 59, were you a different man, or did that behavior continue until just recently? And you have 2 minutes for this.
As I told you, that was locker room talk. I'm not proud of it. I am a person who has great respect for people, for my family, for the people of this country, and certainly I'm not proud of it. But that was something that happened. If you look at Bill Clinton, far worse, minor words, and his was action. His was what he's done to women. There's never been anybody in the history of politics in this nation that's been so abusive to women. So you can say any way you want to say it, but Bill Clinton was abusive to women. Hillary Clinton attacked those same women and attacked them viciously. 4 of them here tonight. One of the women, who is a...
Yeah, so I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit because he does actually use some profanities here.
Kathy Shelton, that young woman, is here with us tonight. So don't tell me about words. I apologize for those words. But it is things that people say. But what President Clinton did, he was impeached. He lost his license to practice law. He had to pay an $850,000 fine to one of the women, Paula Jones, who's also here tonight. And I will tell you that when Hillary brings up a point like that, and she talks about words that I said 11 years ago, I think it's disgraceful, and I think she should be ashamed of herself, if you want to know the truth.
Yeah, so basically, Donald Trump in that clip is basically pointing out that Bill Clinton was abusing underage women during this time using Epstein's services. And that's essentially what's coming out with Ghislaine Maxwell naming names, and Bill Clinton has been named in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. I mean, let's just get right into that. Jeffrey Epstein's former pilot testifies Bill Clinton was on the plane. So this did come out in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial that Bill Clinton was named, and the former pilot testified in the Ghislaine Maxwell's trafficking trial Tuesday that a who's who of powerful men, including former President Bill Clinton, flew aboard Epstein's private plane. So this is pretty much confirmed that, in 2002 and 2003, President Clinton took a total of 4 trips to Jeffrey Epstein's airplane, 1 to Europe, 1 to Asia, and 2 to Africa, which included stops in connection with the work of the Clinton Foundation. So his name is being brought up a lot through the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers drop objection to naming 8 other John Does, and I think one of them is going to be Bill Clinton. Ghislaine Maxwell will no longer fight to keep the names of alleged John Does a secret, according to her lawyers. Following a 3-week trial in New York, Maxwell was found guilty of enticing vulnerable teenagers to Epstein's various properties for him to abuse between 1994 and 2004, which we do know that during this time, Epstein was bringing underage girls to the White House. So he has brought women along with him to see Bill Clinton set a total of 17 times to the White House. So one of Epstein's victims, Virginia Giuffre, who is suing Prince Andrew in the U.S. for assaulting her when she was 17, has requested to unseal documents that name the 7 men known up to this point as non-party does: 17, 53, 54, 55, 73, 93, and 151. As I showed you previously, Bill Clinton has allegations done by women in their late teens that he has settled with during the time of the prolific predator Epstein's reign. He was friends with Bill Clinton, and they have been known to frequent together. And this is unsurprising that Bill Clinton will be named. In a letter to Judge Loretta Preska on Wednesday, Maxwell's attorney, Laura Menninger, said her client will leave it to the court to determine whether the names should be unsealed. So just getting into more of Epstein, So Epstein's accuser, Virginia Giuffre, claims Bill Clinton stayed on the private island with 2 young girls. So Virginia Giuffre is basically naming Bill Clinton. And this is former President Bill Clinton traveled with Jeffrey Epstein to his private island and stayed there with 2 young girls from New York, according to a recently unsealed interview of prominent Epstein accuser Virginia Roberts Giuffre. Quote, "I remember asking Jeffrey, what's Bill Clinton doing here?" kind of thing. And he laughed it off and said, "Well, he owes me a favor," end quote. Giuffre told lawyer Jack Scarola in 2011 phone interview. Quote, "He never told me what those favors were. I never knew. I didn't know if he was serious. It was just a joke. He told me for a long time ago that everyone owes him favors. They're all in each other's pockets," end quote. Giuffre then said that group altercations between adults were a constant thing that took place on the island, but did not specifically say whether Clinton was involved. Although it is, according to Virginia Giuffre, that Bill Clinton went to the island where all these underage girls were. And at one point, Giuffre brings up the fact that there were 2 women Bill Clinton was seen with. There was 2 women from New York. There were young girls. Bill Clinton stayed there with 2 young girls from New York. And I believe that Bill Clinton settled with these 2 young girls to keep his name out of people's mouth, to not ruin his reputation, to not ruin his wife's presidential run in 2024. He has settled with these women. However, now Ghislaine Maxwell will be unsealing the does and Bill Clinton's name will most likely come up. So this is interesting. Epstein used Bill Clinton's name to intimidate a victim by warning them of their good friendship before the attack. So Jeffrey Epstein used Bill Clinton's name to intimidate a victim by warning them of their good friendship before the attack, it's claimed. And I read your comments. You can leave your comments to the right here. And a lot of people have been making this joke, like, if you go against the Clintons, you will end up dead or missing or what have you. And this is kind of something that I've kind of came across while doing this Ghislaine Maxwell coverage, is a lot of people just kind of think that about this case is, Bill Clinton is known to be an intimidating name if you were to drop him. So this is exactly what happened here. They name dropped Bill Clinton as a form of an intimidation tactic. The woman known as Jane Doe 15 claimed last year she was forced by Epstein and said she sat in the ex-president's personal seat on the Shame Tycoon's Lolita Express private jet. And then he goes, Epstein began grooming her when she was in New York for a school trip and eventually found herself on his private jet. Jane Doe 15 said, quote, "When I chose a seat on the jet, Jeffrey told me that this is where his good friend Bill Clinton also chose to sit." And of course, that's an end quote. Clinton has denied any close relationship with Epstein, instead linking their contact to aid work in the developing world. But we do know that Bill Clinton was visited 17 times in the White House along with 8 different women. And Bill Clinton slept with Monica Lewinsky. So, I mean, it's not out of question here that this guy is just basically lying to everybody once again. And I'm just going to play a little clip here and read your chats.
And Jeffrey made sure that I knew exactly how close he was to Bill Clinton.
Wow.
But it's interesting because here he is bragging about what he gives Clinton to eat on his airplane.
You haven't gotten that story yet.
What story?
I take my peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
I don't believe that. You eat peanut butter and jelly? No, you take your chef with you.
I eat peanut butter and jelly.
No, you don't.
If you talk to the president, you can ask him.
Talk to the president?
Yeah, Clinton.
Right.
He was shocked. Why are we serving peanut butter and jelly?
Oh, on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
So it was only after you did your additional reporting years later, I guess, that you discovered what deep relationships Jeffrey had to so many of these big players, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, and Bill Clinton is denying his relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, but that is a complete lie. I'm going to read just some of your chats right now. Thank you so much for that sticker, Jeannie M. Falcon Hoof writes, he was passing it off like he was doing charitable deeds, when in reality, he was being a monster. And that's the thing. You know, he's saying he was doing these African trips for his charity, but I think, you know, it's going to come to light that these African trips were actually him doing, you know, nefarious things, and he's just trying to play it off as charity work. And that wouldn't surprise me at all. Thank you for that comment. I'm going to read some more comments here. Thank you for all the mods. VDX444 writes, apparently Victoria went on to traffic young girls from 13 up into Epstein's web. Hope she goes to court after case with Duke of York is over. Lost his HRH. And that's the thing. All this stuff is kind of being used as a way to gaslight the public and keep Bill Clinton's name out of everybody's mouth. But as we do know now that Bill Clinton is going to be named by Ghislaine Maxwell in the case. So,
And Jeffrey made sure that...
Let's continue on. Thank you so much for being here. Please make sure you subscribe, ring the bell so you never miss a live. And I just want to bring up some more information about Bill Clinton. I'll link this in the description below, but Bill Clinton has a ton of assault cases against him. And these are his misconduct allegations, which Donald Trump has brought up in the debate against Hillary Clinton. He has a whole laundry list. He has Juanita Broderick. He has Leslie Milwee. He has Paula Jones. He has Kathleen Willey. And he has other accusations, including from a former flight attendant who accused Clinton of groping and fondling her on the 1992 campaign flight while his wife, Hillary, was sleeping nearby. So Bill Clinton is not a good person when it comes to treating women respectably. And as we see from Donald Trump and the debate, this has been brought up by Donald Trump as well. In 1999, Elaine Wellstone, a former student at University of Oxford, accused Clinton of forcing himself upon her in 1969 when he was a student at Oxford. So this guy has a huge history. A campaign staffer, Sandra Allen James, accused Clinton of assaulting her in his hotel room in 1991. I mean, it's just a laundry list of these actions, you know, where he's doing all of these huge and nefarious things to women. And he is basically being called out by Ghislaine Maxwell now because Ghislaine Maxwell in the trial named Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton reportedly met secretly with Ghislaine Maxwell for intimate dinner. Now, here's the thing. Bill Clinton is actually said to, he likes to downplay his relationship to Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. He says he didn't know anything about them. But now that Ghislaine Maxwell is a convicted child trafficker, it came out that in this book that Bill Clinton actually had a relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. So if I'm reading this, Bill Clinton reportedly met secretly with Ghislaine Maxwell for an intimate dinner. So Bill Clinton secretly met socialite turned accused trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell for an intimate dinner in 2014. This is after Epstein served a prison sentence. Bill Clinton is still affiliated with Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, if you want to draw parallels to Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton had pictures, allowed Epstein to be in the White House and take photos in the White House. How did he get in there? Obviously through Bill Clinton. It's very similar to Prince Andrew inviting, you know, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell to the Queen's Lodge. It's no different. Bill Clinton is going to be next. I think he's going to be named by Ghislaine Maxwell. And here he goes again. After the allegations that she and her pal Jeffrey Epstein had abused at least one teen, a report said Tuesday. The former president joined Maxwell, who's now cooling her heels in a Brooklyn jail cell on charges involving the alleged abuse of young women, and a small group of friends for the meal in Los Angeles after a celebrity gala that February, sources told the Daily Beast. So it's said that Ghislaine Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell is married, first of all. She's married to a man that does data analyst for trafficking, which is a weird parallel. But they divorced over the phone after her guilty verdict. And, it's not out of reach for Ghislaine Maxwell to be unfaithful in relationships. So I don't think this is far-fetched that Bill Clinton could have actually been having a relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. So this is basically said through numerous reports. We have one here that, Bill Clinton secretly met socialite for an intimate dinner in 2014. And we also have a book written about the relationship between Bill Clinton and Ghislaine Maxwell. So, I mean, if we just want to talk about guilty by association, which we have with Prince Andrew, I think it's fair to say that this association with Ghislaine Maxwell with Bill Clinton needs a closer look. Bill Clinton had an affair with British-born socialite Ghislaine Maxwell, who is accused of helping recruit underage victims for notorious Jeffrey Epstein, according to a Blockbuster new book. So the nation's 42nd head of state also repeatedly sneaked out to visit Maxwell up at her Upper East Side townhouse, as detailed in this exclusive excerpt from A Convenient Death, end quote. Clinton was allegedly carrying on an affair with at least one woman in Epstein's orbit, but she was well over the age of consent. Ghislaine Maxwell, a constant present at the ex-president's side during these trips, was the primary reason Clinton let Epstein ferry him around the world. Quote, Bill and Ghislaine were getting it on. That's why he was around Epstein, to be with her. So it is very interesting. There's all these pictures of Bill Clinton on the Lolita Express. I mean, this is why it's so kind of crazy, because it's like, why isn't Bill Clinton being investigated by the FBI now that he has been known to be flying around the Lolita Express with a convicted child trafficker, given his history of abuse allegations, is absolutely crazy. And I think as an American public, that's what we need to know. I think we need to unseal these names ASAP. And I think Ghislaine Maxwell is going to name Bill Clinton as one of her clients. So this is also an interesting article I came across. Jeffrey Epstein was Bill Clinton's closest celebrity mate and stayed with Hillary at his New Mexico ranch, says worker. So this is a bombshell report as well, because if you do remember back to Bill Clinton's statement, he said he never went to the New Mexico ranch. Well, that was a lie too, because according to this article, Jeffrey Epstein was Bill Clinton's closest celebrity mate and stayed with Hillary at his New Mexico ranch, an estate worker has claimed. And if you believe this estate worker, Hillary was there too. And this is where a lot of the criminal activities went down, was at this New Mexico ranch, and Hillary Clinton was there as well. So the Clintons even took their daughter Chelsea to the Zorro Ranch a whole bunch of times, an ex-contractor added. Jerry Kellogg, a security expert hired to set up a camera system at the ranch by manager Bryce Gordon, made the claims. Kellogg told Daily Mail that while he worked there, he didn't know of Epstein's reputation, but he recalls Gordon talking about how often the Clintons came to visit. So again, we just had someone say that Bill Clinton was known to assault people while Hillary Clinton was sleeping nearby with a flight attendant. So who's to say that this is necessarily out of reach, that Bill Clinton was, assaulting people while Hillary Clinton was nearby at the ranch? It's not that far out of reach. So very interesting kind of information that's popping up. So this is a tab that I just accidentally closed. But Bill Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein was going to make a deal with prosecutors by revealing the secrets of Bill Clinton, a new book says. And so this is kind of interesting because a lot of people don't think Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. He was actually murdered. And, we do, going back to how one of the Jane Does of Epstein said that Epstein threatened her with the Bill Clinton name. And so it is kind of interesting that when Jeffrey Epstein was going to do a tell-all book to cut a deal with prosecutors, he ended up dead. So there are some people that believe that maybe Bill Clinton had something to do with Epstein's death to keep his mouth shut. So it just kind of plays into the intimidation tactic. And I'm going to be reading your chats now. It bothers me that nearly everyone labels children that are victims of R-word as young women or underage women, Samuel Roche writes. Exactly. And I'll try to be more careful with that as well. But something that is interesting about the Epstein case that really bothers me is that these women in the girls, sorry, I keep doing it, in the 1990s were actually referred to as prostitutes. That's what they were referred to as. But these women, these girls, I keep doing it, were held up against their will. And so people referring to these young girls as, somehow consensual is so wrong. And I just really want to clear that air. And thank you so much for that comment. And I need to fix that because I keep referring to these victims as women, but you're right, they're girls. Politicians are basically cut from the same cloth. No surprise. Play nice cereal. Nathan Purvis writes, look up Epstein autopsy. I will. And I look into the Epstein crime photos. And honestly, what really threw me for a loop was the marks on his neck didn't look like they could be done by bed sheets. They looked like they were obviously done by some sort of wire held around his neck. And I also kind of believe that in the autopsy photos that it didn't look like Epstein. It looked like someone wearing a mask of Epstein. It didn't look like it was, Epstein as I see in all the photos. It looks like almost like a caricature version of Epstein. Like there's allegations that Epstein actually owned a face mask, like a Halloween mask that he put over his head. And, that could have potentially been used to fake his own death. And some people still think he's still alive. There's people that still think he was murdered by the Mossad, the Israeli spy group, similar to how Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was a part of the spy agency. And there's also allegations that Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, Robert Maxwell, was also murdered. So nothing changes until human life is valued by all. I can see clearly, writes. Exactly. Jackie writes, Epstein's autopsy looks like Anthony Bourdain's autopsy from 2018, Jackie. I'm going to have to look into that. Tanya V writes, yes, do we think he was murdered? Let's take a poll. Do you think Epstein was murdered? And that's the thing. And we talk a little bit about how Bill Clinton's name is used as an intimidation tactic. And, I hope I don't go missing. So if I go missing, someone please take care of my dog. Because speaking out against Bill Clinton apparently is not the thing to do if you want to keep safe. So I'm asking you guys, do you think Epstein was murdered? 78% says yes. Only 20% says no. Ian Hawks writes, imprisoning weed smokers, peaceful and creative people, almost godly. Yes, not even approaching your sergeant about Bill and his boys. Exactly. The judge that is supervising the trial in New York was appointed to the judgeship by President Clinton. That is interesting because, yeah, he was appointed. It was like this transgender man appointed by the Democrats to do the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. And everybody thought the Ghislaine Maxwell trial was rigged from the start because of the appointment of that judge. And then we also had the Maureen Comey, who is James Comey's daughter, being one of the lead prosecutors in that case. James Comey's daughter, Maureen, was actually the one that lost the Epstein prison tapes where he apparently killed himself. And it is kind of weird that she was put as the lead prosecutor. And I'm having a hard time wrap my head around like how that happened. The Democrats were basically in charge of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. And I thought it was rigged, but I was surprised to see that Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty. Although later on, the jurors were actually found to cause a mistrial. So I thought for sure that was how they were going to rig it, was they basically, I don't know, maybe paid off the jurors to cause a mistrial. I don't know what you guys think. It's a bit strong. Can't we just say he was assisted to suicide? Falcon Hoof writes. Stitchin and Bitchin writes, Maxwell trial was rigged. I agree Maxwell trial was rigged. And I think they did the Ghislaine Maxwell trial very, very smart because, they had us all fooled and we were all surprised when Ghislaine Maxwell became guilty. But at the very last second, they pulled the rug out from under us and there's now going to be a mistrial. And, this trial is going to go on forever and ever and ever. And what I find very interesting about this trial is that these FBI tapes, these hard drives, these thumbnail drives, these computers were all seized by the FBI and the FBI lost all the tapes. So You know, we talk about Bill Clinton potentially being arrested for child trafficking, similar to Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, there should be at least 100 other people being arrested as well. You know, we talk about Lord Medelson in the UK. We talk about Alan Dershowitz, who's a lawyer. You know, there must be files somewhere of these people engaging in these crimes. And I'm surprised the FBI isn't arresting more people right now. And it's up to the public and you and I to basically almost do a witch hunt in a way. Olivia Mary J writes, the UK's media today, quote, own majority by Rupert Murdoch, pushing story of Boris, Prime Minister, having parties during lockdown night before Prince Philip's funeral, days after media coverage of Andrew. And that's very interesting, Olivia, because a guy named Brian Harvey from East 17 basically called me up and said that he went to a club in Covent Gardens called Brown's Nightclub. He goes into the basement and then he presses a button. Well, one of the people that worked there pressed a button. It opens up a back room, a secret door to this underground network of all these rooms of beds and just nefarious looking rooms that are disturbing because it's a secret underground location. And he said that in those lobby was Prince Andrew, Ghislaine Maxwell, and a man who had his back turned to him. And he believes, Mr. Harvey believes from East 17, that that man that was in that room in that Covent Gardens Browns nightclub was none other than Robert Murdoch. And Robert Murdoch has close associations with Ghislaine Maxwell as well. I mean, we're talking about Bill Clinton, but Robert Murdoch, you know, the ex-wife of Tim Cook, for example, now owns The Atlantic. And there's also speculation that one of the most popular accounts on Reddit is actually Ghislaine Maxwell, and Reddit is a huge source of information. So a lot of ways, this entire public opinion about the Ghislaine Maxwell trial has been swayed by gaslighting, by distractions. And you bring up a good point about Boris Johnson, you know, basically partying during the pandemic. And this is all used to distract the public. I bring up Meghan Markle a lot, but Meghan Markle is also used to distract the public. So thank you for those comments. I really appreciate those thought-provoking comments. Jan Brubacker writes, they could see the marks on his neck. Maybe a good makeup artist made the marks on his neck. Yeah, exactly. So Black Anonymous writes, Robert Murdoch, do you mean Rupert Murdoch? Joseph Morris, yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry about that. That's what I meant. David P. writes, not saying it is what I like to see, but do you think Giuffre's lawyers would do as they say and bring to justice all those responsible for recruiting girls for Epstein? And that's an excellent point. And I'm going to bring up Virginia Giuffre's Twitter because she basically is on a mission to expose all these men, and she will not accept a settlement from Prince Andrew. She would rather see Prince Andrew being brought to justice. So Prince Andrew actually offered a settlement to Virginia Giuffre, but she said, no, I want to bring these guys to justice. And this is what Ghislaine Maxwell wrote right here. And I think it's really important to read this because she writes, I hope that today is not the end, but rather another step in justice being served. Maxwell did not act alone. Others must be held accountable. I have faith that they will be. So who that means? And I saw Robert Murdoch trending on Twitter, and I just want to do my live research right now because Rupert Murdoch, sorry. I keep getting his name wrong. It's not my fault he has a really hard name. Rupert Murdoch, I think it's called. Yeah, Rupert Murdoch, Ghislaine Maxwell. So there are pictured together celebs with Ghislaine. You know, there is Rupert Murdoch with Ghislaine Maxwell. So, you know, I do feel like the public is being swayed and being led astray. So thank you for correcting me on how to say Rupert Murdoch. I should probably know that. I'm reading your chats. Naomi is a spy, though, Celtic Meltdown writes. I think Celtic, you're talking about Naomi Campbell. Mystic Rivers writes, Andrew only in civil court. I pray this will be all moved to criminal law. He belongs in prison. And yeah, I believe these people belong in prison. And, I really want to just almost bring attention to how there are a bunch of young children potentially being trafficked in the United States of America. And one of those people right now is Harmony Montgomery. And I just really want to call attention. She's a recent missing young girl, and she has been missing for 2 years. She was only reported missing, I believe, last month. But Harmony Montgomery was last seen in New Hampshire, and this is her image. We also have Summer Wells. There's a ton of missing children in the world right now, and I just really want to bring some spotlight to these faces to basically show that, I hope that this crime, this sort of criminal industry that Prince Andrew and Bill Clinton and Rupert Murdoch allegedly are, a part of, is ended, because obviously a lot of innocent lives are ruined because of this. So I'm going to continue reading your chats. Thank you for all the thought-provoking chat messages. Rupert. Yeah, I'm going to get corrected. You guys always want to correct me on how I pronounce Ghislaine Maxwell, because the French way to say Ghislaine is Ghislaine, but because she's British, it's Ghislaine. So I didn't even know that about her. Can we just throw the whole Hollywood away? Kona Freeman writes. Exactly. I think Hollywood has a lot to do with, this sort of corrupt behavior. In speaking of Harvey Weinstein was a part of this too. Harvey Weinstein was seen partying with Prince Andrew. So, this goes far and wide. Princess Andrew's interviews, 16th November 2019, pandemic began, 17th November 2019, massive attempt to distract from everything to do with Epstein. That is very interesting. I'm going to look into that. Blue Raven writes, the woman shot by Alec Baldwin was married to a lawyer that represented both Clinton and Epstein. It was a hit to intimidate and stop people from talking. Interesting. So I'm going to continue reading your comments because this is very interesting. If you're over 40 like me, we have seen these people work the system and they are very old now. Why are they still seen? Celtic Meltdown writes. Jamie B writes, Ghislaine hasn't actually exposed him though. Okay, so I'm going to continue reading your chats. If you want to continue sounding off, please do so right here. Naomi, where's blood diamonds? Jamie writes, the kids are going missing at astronomical numbers. Very frightening. I pray they all may been found safely in Jesus' names. Yes. Breathy Gang writes, my kids were not even allowed to speak to high-profile town people, our local police officers, officials, etc. in our hometown. I'd never let my child hop on a plane to an island. That is a good point. So thank you so much, guys, for being here. I really appreciate everybody sounding off to my right here to basically give me your opinions and looking into them. I'm going to be looking into Savile because a lot of people are bringing up Savile. And, the reason why I did this video about Bill Clinton is people are still bringing up Bill Clinton. So I decided I might as well just air out all my dirty laundry I had about Bill Clinton. And it is very interesting reading all your speculations as well. And it's been really fun hanging out with everybody as well. Oprah wears blood diamond. Most of them do. Mystic Rivers writes. So thank you so much, guys. Please make sure you subscribe, ring the bell so you never miss a live. I enjoy hanging out with you guys. And if you're watching this at a later day, please leave your comments in this comment section below because I enjoy reading that as well. So I'm going to make sure that Gabby is being taken care of in case I go missing from after doing my Bill Clinton video, because a lot of people would say that Bill Clinton may actually be trying to, make people go away. So I just hope the best for everybody out there. Stay safe out there and, make good decisions. And I love you guys all. Please don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, and do not forget to press like on my video because it really helps the algorithm because I do get pushed down for talking about these topics. So